Dr. Kate. I'm here with Ray Schiavone, who is the owner and operator of Deja Brew in Shrewsbury, Massachusetts, located on Route 9. And we're already having a good time starting before the show. I'm learning a lot about beer and the process that goes with it. Ray and Deja Brew have been here for 18 years, and he certainly knows his stuff about beer. So I'm really excited to be here. Thank you very much for letting us come in.
Terrific. Thanks for coming.
And invade your space. So today we're going to do something different. Ray's going to show us some things, and then we actually get a tour to see the process, because this is a brew on-premise facility. So
Right.
customers can come in and do their own brewing of their own beer.
Correct.
And how does the process start? If a customer wants to come in, how do they know what types of beer they can choose, what's available?
Sure. So we, when we originally opened, we had 65 recipes people could choose from, and now we're up over 250. So
Wow.
we've got something that'll fit pretty much any taste that people have. But what we would ask them is, what do you like to drink? Two things. We'll ask them what you like to drink. They're all over the map. I ask them what's in the refrigerator now.
Yeah. So how do you focus on with 250 recipes? That's
Yeah.
a great.
It is.
All
Well,
right.
it's like a kid in a candy store. It's
Yeah.
the problem you have, you know, you got a
You want
nickel,
them
what do you
all.
want to spend it on? So, and we also caution them that they're going to be getting 6 cases of beer. That's what they'll end up with, and so it better be something they like,
Yeah.
because they'll have a lot of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we walk them through the process, and again, we've been doing it for 18 years, so we're usually pretty good at it, what we get on. And so then we'll help them pick out a recipe card, and once they get the card out, it starts with weighing out the grains. These are the grains
Okay.
right here. So this is a victory or a toasted malt grain. It's 2-row barley. This is a roasted barley. It's the same grain, just roasted to different degrees of color. And what this does is change the flavor of the grain and also the color, obviously. But this is how you would adjust the flavors and color in your beer.
So this would be more of a darker beer.
More of a darker beer. Actually,
Okay.
this is one that's used in red beers.
Okay.
So, but
So are these the basic ingredients that a customer will start with?
yep.
Okay, and how about something over here? Now I noticed we have a whole bunch of array.
Oh yeah, these are our specialty grains. So the big tubs are the grains we use a lot of.
Okay.
The smaller tubs here are grains we don't use as often, but we still do use to adjust for our recipes.
Great. So when a customer comes in, some of the first things they'll do is choose their beer. We were talking a little bit just before we started taping, and it seems to be more of a shift in movement where people want their hands on their food. They want to know, what they're eating and have a part in it. And it seems, with their drink, that seems to be what they're looking at too.
Yeah, it's very true. Mom said don't play with your food, but I love to cook, and this is in essence cooking.
Yeah.
So that's really what you're doing. So the first step would be, to grind up the grains, immerse them in the water, and you're essentially starting by making a tea. Then you add a little bit more sugars, and you start developing the wort. But the reason I think a lot of people like doing this is, as you pointed out, you're getting your hands on it, you're getting to do it yourself, and you're getting to do something that you won't find commercially. So that's the advantage. I mean, a lot of people come in and ask us, can we make something like? And sure we can. But if we're going to make something like, then what's the value of that to somebody?
Yeah.
Right, so predominantly our recipes are just unique. You won't find them on the market.
And are
Anything
these
like that.
things you've sort of come up with over the 18 plus years you've
Yeah.
been doing this and
Yeah,
putting
very
things
much.
together?
Yep, that's not to say we don't have some that knock off beers
Yeah.
that are commercially available. We certainly do that, but it's a question of why. And a lot of people just like to make their own themselves.
Yeah. And that's you're coming here to brew your own beer.
Yep.
The uniqueness of getting a beer that's different than what you could get at a store
Absolutely.
would make sense.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
We were
And-
talking a little bit about the health benefits
Sure.
of beer, and I was mentioning to you, some patients will say to me, should I have a beer or should I have a soda? And I say, always have a beer before you have a soda. And you were sharing with me some of the health benefits of beer in general.
Sure. Well, beer in general, you know, if you go back to the monks, it's called liquid bread because they had high carbohydrates, but when they were fasting, this is what they could have and survive on. You know, I think that also I've heard it referred to as liquid fiber, so it's great to get into your diet just to keep you healthier. And as I mentioned, there was a study that came out of Poland this year regarding marinating meats in beer before you grill them. The benefit of doing that is grilling, as you know, creates some carcinogens. And the advantage of marinating it in beer, the darker the beer, the better, is that it minimizes those carcinogens. Doesn't totally eliminate them, but it drastically minimizes them.
Yeah.
So-
With grilling season, that's a big thing that's coming
Sure
up
it is.
too, is all of the carcinogens that can come
And
from
it just
grilling.
helps to flavor the beer. I'm sorry, the steak or the chicken or whatever you're doing. I marinate tuna steaks in beer as well. So they're awesome.
The darker the beer, the more health benefits there.
Yep.
Is that what you
Yeah.
said? Interesting.
Yeah.
So some of these are coming from, this I noticed it's cold, you pulled out of a refrigerator.
Yes.
So the ingredients that a customer would start with is some of these dry
Grains.
room temp
Yep.
grains.
Room temp grains.
And then they go back to the fridge and you grab specifics based on the recipe that they choose.
Right. So this is a hop. This is a. I don't know if you can see that. This is a pelletized hop. So hops themselves. Oh, nice dirty fingers, right? The hops themselves are actually a flower or a cone. That's what it's called on a vine, and the vines are quite tall. If you can, that's soft enough. I don't know if you can. See? So the hops themselves grow on very long vines. They should be trained upwards, and they grow as flowers. And what happens is they pick them. They pelletize them, and the reason they pelletize them is just for shelf stability. In that case, it's really not an issue. We go through them so fast, it's just, but our system is designed to use the pellets as opposed to leaf hops. A lot of home brewers would be familiar with using leaf hops.
Okay. All right. So this keeps it more stabilized.
Yep, shelf stable, yeah, so that you, there are oils in there, essential oils that lend to bitterness and flavor, and those would evaporate.
Okay.
So-
All right.
They're volatile oils.
And when customers are here, you know, brewing their own beer, it's not a quiet atmosphere, is
No,
it? It
no,
becomes kind of like a
There's a lot
party,
of camaraderie,
right?
yeah.
Get together.
So you
and-
get to sample beers while you're here,
Yeah.
while you're brewing your beer.
Yeah.
It's you know, take one, leave one, so you can take a couple out of the fridge while you're brewing, and you leave a couple when you're bottling. And
Yeah.
so we never really know what's there. I mean, it's just whatever people have been brewing. So in some sense, it tends to be a little seasonal. So darker beers in the fall and winter, lighter beers in the spring and summer. But yeah, so it's a good time. Great people. They have a good time here.
Yeah.
So.
I know people who've come here and rave about the beer and rave about the atmosphere and the
Yeah.
experience too. So it's definitely a great place to come and get your hands on making your own beer.
It is. It's a lot of fun. We try to keep it fun so that people have a good time.
You think you could take us on a tour?
Sure.
So why don't we get set up and come with us, and Ray's going to take us on a small tour here, and let's see how this process works.
These are our brewing kettles. This is
Okay.
where the brewing actually starts.
Okay.
So we would measure out the grains required by the recipe, grind them, and then put them into this little tea basket here.
Okay, so it is like brewing a big thing of tea, you were saying.
Absolutely.
describing.
Yep.
Okay.
And in fact, we tell people to dunk it up and down, that just like a tea. The more you wash the water over the grains,
Yep.
the more flavor and color you extract from them.
Makes sense.
And so we start with cold, clear, filtered water. And
Now, how much will this? How much beer will you get out of this?
15 gallons.
15 gallons.
Yep. So 6 cases.
6 cases. Okay.
A lot of beer.
Yeah.
A lot of beer.
What are some of the more popular beer choices that?
Well,
customers choose?
IPAs are big. They've been big for the last few years. They're very popular. Uh, um, Belgian wit style beers are very popular. That is a slightly orangey flavored beer. Um, but it's very popular, very refreshing. A lot of people like it. That's always in our top 10. Our back porch pale ale, a nice pale ale, is always in our top 10. I think my son just created a new recipe for a classic pale ale. I expect that's going to be up in the top 10 pretty quickly. It's a really fine recipe. All of the IPAs that are in our top 10 he created.
So this is so your son's really
Yeah,
involved with
yeah,
all
my
this
son's
too.
involved. Yeah, and he's a great brewer. He really can knock out some recipes.
Neat. That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, it is.
Good. And
So-
we were chatting. You have gluten-free beer here too.
We
is
do have
available?
gluten-free beer. Yep, we do have that. We don't make it a lot, but people who have gluten issues tend to move away from beer, simply to wine or grain
Yeah.
spirits.
But for those who have to be gluten-free and like beer, now they know
we
this
have
place
options.
they can get
Yep.
6 cases of it. And
Yeah,
and
we
that-
do make it.
Okay.
I have a friend who has celiac disease, and so we created the recipes for him.
Ah, nice.
So-
Some inspiration.
Yeah, well,
Great. So now you
necessity.
Brew it, you brew it through here.
Yeah,
Necessity.
right.
And then it filters through.
Yeah, so we do it here. It takes about 40 to 60 minutes brew time in the pot.
Okay.
Once it comes out of here, it'll come down our main line here. There's a sanitary wort line.
And are customers sort of steeping this that 40 to 60 minute time
No,
period?
no, that takes probably 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay.
Then we get the grains out of there. We let them drain. Then we get them out of there. They would add extracts at that point, stir them in well. We bring it to a boil. We start adding the hops. So then we would add some. So the first set of hops go in. They're typically in there 40, 50 minutes. We add a second set of hops in there. They're in there about 10 minutes. The later it's just like cooking. The later you add something into a recipe, the more predominant the flavor profile you get at the end as the end result. And so we do that with the beer as well. It's the same process. We actually even go to a step called dry hopping, which is done after it's finished fermenting. And we add the hops to the fermenter after it's finished fermenting so that we can extract more of the aroma and flavor from it, because if it went in before fermentation creates gases. So the aroma would off gas and you would lose it.
Okay.
So you add it after it's
After.
fermented.
Okay. Makes sense. Yeah.
All right.
So
So
it comes through here.
yep. So it comes down here.
And so this whole process here takes about an hour.
About an hour.
Okay.
Yeah. So probably about 20 minutes getting ready with the grains and everything, and 45 minutes to an hour in the kettle.
Okay.
And then we take it down here, go through all of this mechanism down here. We have a hop screen in here.
Okay.
It
So it
filters
comes
out.
down and goes
Yep,
through
comes
there?
down here, pumped up through here.
Okay.
It is, this is our hop screen. It's about like a window, fine mesh like a window screen, stainless steel. And so it'll screen out any hops that manage to get through here. Go through the blue unit, which is a heat exchanger, so it cools it down into one of our fermenters. These fermenters, we use these are just to give the bag shape. We use a sanitary plastic bag into each barrel. The beer goes into the bag. So at this point, when we take it down here, the first thing we add is the yeast. We sanitize the yeast vessel, add the yeast to it, pour the cooled wort right on top of it, so there's a lot of aeration going on, and then we just close it off.
Now,
Put an airlock on it.
does someone here help the customer?
Oh, we
with
got
each
him through.
step?
We got him through every step.
So what if you know nothing about?
You're going to come
beer?
out an expert.
You're going to come out an expert.
Yep, yep.
Great.
And it's the funny thing is I mean, the first couple of times people come in, it's just little refreshers. What do I do now? What do I do now? So we help them through that. But by the time they've done this 5 or 6 times, they really have it all down. So there's not much we need to do. We're always here, but so a lot of people just like to take off on their own.
They know what they're doing. So you have a
Yep.
lot of repeat customers that want
Yeah.
their beer that they've brewed on their own, and they'll come back
Yep.
and get their cases.
Time and again,
and-
time and again.
Great.
We
Good.
have a group of brewers who's probably brewed well over 600 beers with us.
Wow.
Yeah.
And there's lots of different events I saw on your website. You just had a chili cook-off.
Yeah, we had a chili cook-off. We actually just had a quick little chowder fest that wasn't as good as we had wanted it. Actually, that group that has done over 600 beers with us had the little chowder fest, and I mean it's nice. You know, you get to have a little going on, and there are people here brewing or bottling, and they get to enjoy some of it as well. So yeah, you know.
Great. Great. So it does become a real get-together here.
Yeah, it does. And in fact, I used my recipe. I contributed to chowder. My recipe has beer as an ingredient.
Ah, of
My
course.
chilies all have beer
Of
as
course.
ingredients. So
Interesting.
yeah, I like to use beer when I cook.
Makes sense.
So yeah,
Makes
why not?
sense.
Right? So
I've never had chili with beer in it before.
well.
Did
it's,
you win the contest?
No, I was not in there as a contestant.
Oh,
so
okay. All right.
It wouldn't have been fair.
You
Not that I want. No.
You would have won beer in it, right? I get what you're
I would like to
saying.
think that I would have won, but no. Since we sponsor it, it's just not right. But so and again, so with chilies, I tend to use darker beers because they're sweeter, and so it lends a sweetness. A lot of people will use chocolate in a chili.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I've heard
same,
of that.
For the same reason.
Okay.
Lends a sweetness to it.
Ah.
Depth and sweetness.
Okay.
And that's what the beer gives you.
So a darker beer is a just substitute for something that you're trying to achieve, like that sweet.
Or yeah, right.
Okay.
So instead of using the chocolate, I would use the beer.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, chocolate or beer? I don't know.
Yeah.
You would go with the
Well,
beer.
yeah, I would go with the beer. It's probably less calories.
That's true. That's
Certainly less sugar than the chocolate.
true.
but-
True. Okay. So they've heated it up. They
Yep.
bag it in here.
Yep, comes into here. It's bagged, tagged.
Mhm.
We add this goes so that we pull the bag through this hole here, add an airlock in there so it can off gas.
Okay.
What'll happen is we add a little bit of yeast. The yeast is going to multiply. When it reaches its primary stage, it starts to ferment, and it converts the sugars in the wort to alcohol and carbon dioxide gas. So we have a little airlock here that lets it off gas
And
without
so
letting anything back.
does this stay out here? This goes
No,
in a
this goes
room?
into our fermenting room.
Your
Yep.
temperature controlled rooms? Is that
Yeah,
what
yeah,
they
it's
say?
basically room temperature, 68 to 72 degrees is where it ferments.
Okay.
It stays there. It'll typically be done in about a week, maybe
So-
10 days.
So a customer will come here, and this is their first day where
Yeah.
they do this process.
Yes.
Stop here,
Yep,
and this is where
You send them on their way.
then the beer sits, and they come back within a week.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks
Okay.
to do the final step. So we do that. We take care of it while it's here. So we let it ferment. If it needs to have dry hops, we add the dry hops and give that a little bit of time
Okay.
to sit in the beer. We would then bring it into our cold conditioning room, which is at 32 degrees.
Mhm.
And the cold, basic physics, or chemistry, physics, cold liquid can only hold so much in solution.
Mhm.
Colder it is, the less it holds in solution. So 32 degrees chills it down. Anything that's been floating in there just drops to the bottom,
Mhm.
crashes, and we filter off the top. So whenever you hear cold filtered, everybody cold filters.
Okay.
It's just let nature do the filtering.
Let
for you,
nature do the
right?
filtering.
So,
Great.
in fact, a lot of breweries don't filter at all. They'll just crash it, cold crash it, and they'll serve.
Just as it is.
Yeah, just as it is. So
So
you're getting a little bit of the yeast in there too, which is good for you.
now this process is done. So the customer leaves. They come back in a couple weeks. Do you
Mhm.
think you can take us over to the bottling area and we
Sure.
can see what that's like?
Right
too?
over this way.
Okay. Why don't we head over?
Okay.
All of these ingredients here you were mentioning. These
Yep.
ingredients are for more specialty brews.
Right. So as an example, one of the things I would encourage you to do here, this is a smoked malt. Smoked malt. Smell it.
Ooh, yeah.
Right? It's like a campfire. Huh?
Yeah, yeah.
So this is used in specialty beers. Smoked beer is called a Rausch beer, German word. I don't know if I pronounced it correctly, but it's a style of beer.
Okay.
So you'd have a beer that would smell and taste a little bit like that.
Yeah.
A little
That's
much for
smoky.
me.
When would that be? Would that be more of a wintry type?
Well, actually, we do a honey smoked porter. So you have the sweetness of the honey, the slight smokiness from the grain, and it's a darker beer anyhow. It's a porter.
Mm-hmm.
And the combination is just phenomenal. So we had when we do a monthly event called the Half Batch Variety Night. So we brew 6 different beers. People come in, they help us do that. And at bottling, they get half a batch, so 3 cases of beer, and they get 6 bottles out of each different beer. So it's a nice variety, right? A nice,
to try different things maybe they wouldn't try. Or...
Yeah, and we've had a lot of guest brewers come in. We've had Ben from Wormtown has been in. You know, a lot of the local breweries have been in as guest brewers for those events, so they create their own recipes. We had Grant Woods from Boston Beer Company, the Sam Adams guys, come in and make some recipes for us. And he used on that smoked malt. I'll use maybe 8 ounces in a recipe, and he made a beer with 8 pounds of that.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And I thought, wow, this is going to be so over the top. It was fantastic.
Really?
Yeah, it was great to have him.
Did he just come in and kind of create something on the spot?
Well, no. What we do is we'll let him know. All right, this is what we have for ingredients.
Yeah.
So
and he'll just
make your
come up
recipes.
with something.
Yeah.
Wow, you really are a chef when
yeah,
you're putting all this together. I didn't realize. Now I'm thinking of 250 recipes. It really is.
Yeah.
You know, you really are your own chef in this arena.
And what most of the guest brewers will do, because they're brewers, so they fiddle. But they'll, as their recipes are brewing, they'll go around and they're dipping a little cup in there, making sure the color's where they want it to be, and smelling it and saying, no, this is what I want, we need to add more of this. So it's adjustments on the fly.
Wow.
So it's really, and they're very engaged with the brewers themselves, so it's a really nice time.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun.
So sorry, I got a little off track there.
No, that's great. I love that. Yeah.
So this is our bottling station.
Okay.
So we bring our beers through the fermentation process into our cold room where they crash, and then we filter them. We filter them into a keg, which we then force carbonate. So all breweries force carbonate their beers. It's the way to get your standard control on it, so it's the carbonation level you want. So when the beers come out here, they're cold and carbonated, actually ready to drink. So what this is a counter pressure bottle filler. It's not in use now, so it's just filled with sanitizer. But the process would be to bring the head down on the bottle, as you see there, the cap.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see that, but and then purge it with CO2. So by purging it, you're pushing all the air out, so there's no oxygen left in the bottle, and you're also pressurizing the bottle. The tank is going to come out at about 32 pounds of pressure. So we bring the bottle up to that pressure, and then we slowly bleed the pressure off of the bottle, and that's how the filling occurs. So as you take the pressure off the bottle, it forces the beer into it.
Yep, yep.
So it's nicely controlled, and as I said, the beers are nice, carbonated, and ready to drink.
And so this process in here, you can have some people brewing over here.
And bottling, yeah. Typically we have both things going on at the same time.
Great.
Yep.
And these bottles, I know, because my husband has some of these. These are familiar. I just took some out of my dishwasher this morning. So they can have those bottles.
Right.
They can purchase the bottles here, and they just bring them back.
Use them again and again. Yep. You just it's really easy to keep clean. After you pour them, you just rinse them out well, so the beer's out of there. Drain them and store them upside down.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Which is great, and I know I've seen them recycled a few times as he's been here.
Yeah.
And one of the things he said is the beer is so fresh, and he hasn't tasted. The first time he came to do this was the first time he had ever had a brew your own beer, and he couldn't believe the difference in taste.
It's amazing. It's
so
amazing.
Even as someone who maybe isn't as knowledgeable as you with all of these ingredients and being able to whip something up, someone who just loves beer can come here and see the difference.
It's amazing in terms of the flavor. You don't need a born on date because you were here for the birth, right? So
that's cute.
Yeah, but and it is, freshness is really key. So typically breweries will remove their beer from the shelves at 90 days.
Okay.
And that is because it's tends to be a living product. Major breweries will either add chemicals to stop fermentation, not so much anymore, but they will pasteurize the product, so it will not ferment in the bottle.
Yep.
This is live.
Yeah.
So it will continue to age. But even with pasteurized beers, their flavor profile changes after 90 days. And so it loses its brewery freshness, and that's why they'll remove it from the shelves.
Well, that's one of the things I thought about with the brewing your own versus
Yep.
a commercial beer is it has to be pasteurized. So when you're brewing it yourself and you know that process that's happened,
Mhm.
you're less likely to kill off some of the good stuff you would want
Right.
for a beer anyway. Some of
Right.
the nutrition, because pasteurization just naturally
Just
does
naturally
that
does
anyway.
that, yeah.
So you maybe obtain a little more of the health
Oh, you
benefits
do.
of beer.
You do. You
with
definitely
brewing
do.
your own as
Yep.
well,
You definitely
which is
do.
another thing that intrigued me.
Yep, you
Great.
definitely do, yeah. So, it's good, and honestly, it really depends. Some people like to bottle it, let it sit a week or two because the flavor will change. I personally, I like it the day it's bottled.
Yeah.
That's my favorite time.
Yeah.
So,
So what do you like best about being able to be here and doing this, and what's your favorite part about it?
meeting the people.
Meeting the people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I love it. Everybody, they have a good time.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you're having a good party at your house.
And meeting lots of different
And meeting
people.
lots of different people, and you'll see most people come in. They've got a good attitude. If they've been here before, they've got a good attitude. They know what to expect. And sometimes people come in at the end of a bad day, and by the time they leave, they're smiling.
They're
so
happy again.
Yeah, it's good.
Men, women,
Great mix.
all different
A great
ages.
Mix. Beer, it's predominantly men. We also do wine, which would be predominantly women, but they mix across. So,
yeah.
and all ages from 21 to retirees.
That's great. Now this second process here, real quick, as we're wrapping up, this is day 2, coming back after 2 weeks. About how long does the bottling process?
About an hour and a half to same
Okay.
time. So we'll tell you it's 2 visits, 2 weeks apart, and allow for 2 hours each visit.
Okay,
You'll be good.
great. And
So-
bring a car that can hold 6 cases of beer to drive home in.
I have seen people put those 6 cases in some very small cars. I've
Okay.
seen them fit into Porsches, and little MGs. It's just amazing.
So it can be done.
It can, but when there's a will, there's a way.
Just don't put them on the roof. That's
right.
all.
Yeah.
All right,
So,
great. So if someone is interested in coming, brewing their own beer, how do they?
Give us a call.
Just
Just
give
give us a call. We'll set up a time for you to come in and get started.
Okay.
So.
And typically your times are, we were just chatting about your busiest times are certainly the
Sure.
weekend times.
Yeah. It's when people are available.
Mhm.
So you asked about the age group. So earlier in the afternoons, you tend to get retirees,
Mhm.
or on Fridays you would tend to get typically in the afternoons school teachers who have those Fridays off.
Okay.
A
Yep.
lot of school teachers will have a Friday off, but they'll come in as a group and do some brewing. So,
Okay.
but that's and then in the evenings are pretty much everybody else. So.
Great. Good. So if you want to get in touch with Deja Brew and Ray and schedule something to come in and brew your own, it's definitely more than just brewing a healthy beverage. It's definitely an experience here. I know that from my family
Yeah.
being here and enjoying their time.
So good.
And it's fascinating. I actually learned a lot about
Oh.
this process, which I appreciate. Thank you for that.
My
too.
pleasure.
So again, Deja Brew can be found on Route 9 in Shrewsbury. And feel free to give Ray a call. This was great. Thank you again
My pleasure.
for inviting us
Thank
in
you.
and letting us come. You've been watching Holistic Health with Dr. Kate, and we're dedicated to informing and inspiring you to make healthy and whole decisions for your family. Thank you for watching.